You're still watching News Desk on Joy News on Multi TV. Now, an Accra High Court has ordered the Electoral Commission to allow the flag bearer of the All People's Congress, APC, Dr. Hassan Ayariga, to correct mistakes on his nomination form. You remember that Hassan Ayariga is one of 12 presidential candidates who were disqualified by the Electoral Commission because they failed to meet, that's according to the EC, some rules in the Constitutional Instrument 94, CI 94 for this year's polls. And I have in the studio with me Raymond Aqua. He has the latest on this ruling by the Accra High Court regarding the APC's case and the Electoral Commission. And he joins me live in the studio. Hello, Raymond. So on which grounds did the court decide to grant this ruling to Hassan Ayariga? Hassan
Ayariga's argument was that he, as a candidate, mindful of sections 7.2 and 9.2 of the CI 94, was supposed to be given some period to make amendments to actually correct what can be considered as mistakes on his form. What did not happen, according to Hassan Ayariga, was that even though the EC previously came to him and said, do this and do that, they left out the most important parts they could use to disqualify him. Within that period, we are considering this. The EC's argument counter was that we just had enough time to do what we did for you, and we couldn't do anything else. And we are mandated by law to disqualify you based on that particular provision you breached. Then the court today ruled that it was absurd and it was unfair, because if you give people 2 days to do nomination and they submit it even on the last day, you are supposed to get back to them on all the corrections so that it can be done, then it can move forward. To the extent that you gave them a limited period and you could not do your work within that particular limited period, they are not under any obligation to be failed because of your incapacity. So that's how the judge in this particular case concluded the matter. She was also of the considered opinion that, I mean, this shouldn't be an issue at all coming to court, because the two could have sat down, resolved the problem, mindful of what happened on the EC side. And she moved on to say that no indication should be given to other candidates and other people pursuing their rights that when you fail to do your duty, I should suffer as a result of your failure. So those are the things that the court actually based the decision on. And Justice Barbara Chawe, if you do recall, made the ruling in a similar line with what Eric Chebafo did a week ago for Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum. And we know that the EC is actually challenging this particular decision at the Supreme Court.
So what does this mean for this particular case?
Okay, so what the EC is trying to say is that the High Court judges consistently exceed their mandate. They cannot do interpretation of the law. They only have to look at the law and rule accordingly. This is also not a parliamentary seat issue. So the determinants of the issues are beyond them. On one other hand, in the PPP case, the EC is actually arguing that to put to rest, whether one, you have to come through a petition and not a judicial review. Two, you have to come and ask a court to reverse a decision that the constitutional mandate has done, and you can do so. It's also something that the Supreme Court should bring a finality to. So every other person, and the EC envisages that the other 12, others may be willing to go to court some other day, every other person is mandate, but they cannot go to court and reverse a decision of the EC when it's not the APC court, or they cannot benefit from their own mistakes on a form that demands that it should be filled in a particular way.
And Raymond, talking of the PPP's case with the EC, where the court ruled in favor of Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, we are learning that the case has actually been adjourned at the Supreme Court right now to November 7.
Certainly, the decision is that this is where we can give judgment. You filed your cases, presented oral arguments. All that the court needs is a day to actually give a decision on the matter. So the indication is that if the court is minded, they will say to the lower courts, this is how you should be guided. You know, there's an election petition manual, but some of these are gray areas that ought to be resolved by the highest court. They will say, this is how you should be guided by these cases. So if they are going to quash this decision and probably add Ayariga's own to it, or they are going to say that all the other gentlemen who are likely to come to court, except you have a superior argument, these issues cannot be coming back to the court.
So you are predicting that on the 7th of November, the Supreme Court could give a judgment on the PPP case?
The Supreme Court is minded by the directives of the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice was clear in her mind when she said that rule as early as possible, especially those who have not had to take into evidence cases. This is not long, what they call run. The people say that there's a breach of the law. We need you to interpret this part of the law to guide lower courts or quash a decision of the lower court. An order for certiorari at the Supreme Court can be dealt with immediately, and that is what the EC is demanding of it. And that is what, if we do recall, the Chief Justice had directed the Supreme Court and all other courts to do. So, November 7th, unless there's an application that should supersede or harm justice delivery, they will have to give a judgment. So
let's talk about this briefly, and on the APC case precisely. What could be the effect?
Okay, so one, the main effect here will be on the PPP's case. It would actually be in the realm of the Supreme Court to say that all other cases in similar light can be affected. But you can't do retroactive law in this case. Then, if it rules on one, the PPP one, the court will then have to go back, and the EC will have to go back and say that by this particular ruling, please reverse the High Court's ruling in the APC case, because these are rulings given prior to the Supreme Court's decision.
So there will be like one umbrella under which all cases will be looked at?
Not necessarily. It will be that one, then there are two groupings here. They are going to court because of PPP, and they also want clarity. Any other case outside the PPP case, the problem is that between the time Supreme Court will rule and the time that this particular case, the APC case, have been dealt with, it falls outside one, the Indum case, and two, the other cases have not been tested in court. So it will block the other cases unless they have any argument to do, and will also affect the PPP case. Now, the APC case is standing on its own because the judgment was given before the court ruled. The facts in the judgment are not before this court. So after that, the EC can go back to court and say, the court has directed that all cases be seen in this light. Please extend a direction to the APC case. That's what has to happen. Thank you very much, Raymond Akwa, there, giving us the details from the court cases today. And of course, we are learning that the APC, the High Court and Accra High Court, has ruled that the Electoral Commission allows Hassan Ayariga to correct mistakes on his nomination forms. And we also just learned some minutes ago that the Supreme Court has also adjourned the case on the PPP matter and the EC to the 7th of November. And we'll be looking out to see what will happen with these cases later. You're still here on News Desk on Joy News on Multi TV.